I've just managed to grab Kelley Skar off the floor after chatting a long time after his session with many of the interested participants here at the AREA Realty Conference. Kelley is the Chief Operating Officer of Redline Real Estate, and he talked today with a lot of realtors about starting a real estate team. It was a very intriguing topic, and I'm glad you're here today to share some of the things that you talked about in your session.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I thought maybe you could share a couple of the questions that you talked with the group about, questions they would ask themselves as they were thinking about starting a team.
Yeah, so the basis of my talk today was an overarching question of, should I start a real estate team? It's such a broad question, and one that needs to be, you need to dive down a lot deeper than just asking that one question. And so I was able to break that one question out into 6 different questions. And essentially, I rhetorically asked the audience these 6 different questions, and then of course gave them the answers. And so one of the questions I think that kind of resonated with most people was, are you a leader? And I think one of the things that agents make the mistake of is that they think that they're going to start a real estate team and make all of this money because they're going to go out and get this fancy website and generate these leads, and then they're going to start closing, but they forgot about the people that are actually on the team that they've got to lead and mentor. And so it's an incredibly difficult question to answer. And because with that question comes a lot of introspection. And when you're asking yourself the hard questions, sometimes you don't like the answers, right? And so if you're asking yourself, am I truly a leader? Do I have what it takes? Am I willing to mentor? Am I willing to guide? Am I willing to lead? Am I willing to put aside my own ego to help build this team and for the betterment of the team? Those are the types of questions that you really need to ask yourself.
And that's got to be a different skill set necessarily than those of a realtor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, is that you're going to wind up giving a lot more than what you would just as a standard transaction to a client. I use this from the stage today, and I've used this from the stage in many different mediums, and it's a saying that I've always said: if I have an agent that calls me at 10:30 at night, my clients, if they call me at 10:30 at night, unless I'm friends with them or we're doing it in the middle of a transaction, I'm not answering the phone. Like, I've got boundaries. They will call me tomorrow, or I will call them back at 8 o'clock. But if I have an agent call me at 10:30 at night, it's not because they're drunk in the bar looking for a ride home, right? I'm there to help lead, guide, and service that agent. And typically they're going to come to me because they know that they've got me on speed dial before they're going to go to their broker. And that's why I'm there. I'm there to help that agent through that transaction, through that process. I'm there to help them with their marketing. I'm there to help them, guide them through not just the transactional piece of it, but actually showing them how to run a business. And that's what a lot of agents don't understand when they're looking at building a team. They don't realize that they're going to wind up having to give a lot of themselves and get very little in return.
Right. So that's one important question. What's another one? What's one of the other questions you suggest people ask?
I guess the big thing is, probably the next biggest question is, what do you have to offer that's greater than what the brokerage can offer, right? So is the brokerage really forward thinking? Do they provide systems and processes? Do they provide you with an administrator? Do they provide you with outstanding marketing? Like, what are the things that the brokerage are providing? And if the answer to a lot of those questions is no, then you've got to be able to look at your systems and processes if you have them. If you don't, and you're looking at starting a team, then you need them, right? And so that's the big question. Can I provide a greater level of service to the agent than what the brokerage is already providing? And if the answer is no, don't start a real estate team. If your answer is yes, that you're kicking the brokerage's butt in terms of all of these systems and processes and marketing and administration, then absolutely you have something to offer.
Yeah, you have value, right? Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people go into teams and make mistakes along the way. What would you say are some of the most common ones you see?
We had a really good conversation afterwards, and I had a couple of people come up to me. One guy is thinking about starting a team. I have another guy that has already started a team, and the guy that's already started a team, it's him and a buyer's agent right now. He's like, well, what if I want to bring this guy on and make him a partner? So that was a big question, a big discussion that we had around that. And then the other guy is in the middle of just starting a team, and it's him and 2 other business partners, and he didn't really know where to go with this whole thing, right? Like, how much money do we put into the pot? Should we have an agreement in place? Can we incorporate? I'm like, yes to all of that. You need to have a corporation. And I know it's different in Ontario, but if you're watching this and you're in Alberta, you should incorporate, and then that corporation should become a shareholder in that greater company that you're building that's also going to be a corporation, right? So agreements are one thing. The other thing are agreements when it comes to the agent as well. And so if you want to attract a high quality agent, you got to be realistic with your splits and what you're asking in terms of commission, right? If you've got a really strong, high, unique sales proposition where you're offering way more than what any other team is offering and what any other brokerage is offering, and you can really justify that 50-50 split all the way through, and it doesn't matter where the lead came from, whether it was from their own database or from the systems and processes that you have in place, to go do that. But just know that that agent probably isn't going to be with you long term, right? And so the big mistake is not allowing yourself to get around this idea of a graduated scale and incentivized type system when it comes to the splits and the offerings. So that's probably the biggest mistake. And it's funny how mistakes in business always revolve around money.
Well, and people need to feel that's fair.
That's
what
right.
you're offering is fair and reasonable, yeah.
That's right.
Good. Thank you so much, Kelley. I really
you're very
appreciated it for bringing some of those salient points from your session today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you. I've been speaking with Kelley Skar from Redline Real Estate.